My wife, of coming up to 30 years this year, had decided that she was unhappy with our relationship, and she felt that there was no moving forward with it. There was no change in things, even though previously we had tried to work things out. And she literally just one day said, "I'm leaving," packed her bags and left. And you waste money. And I did, I admit it. I wasted money. I wasted time. And it probably, in the process of that, just pushed her away a little bit further, which made it hard work for me, which was already going to be hard work. But I didn't notice at the time. It wasn't until I picked up and seen your YouTube videos that you were posting, and I'd watched about a dozen of them in total, and I thought, this guy Noah, he knows his stuff. He knows his shit in some respects, because what you were saying was absolutely bang on the money. And I'm thinking, I've got to tap into this. I've got to find a way to get to this guy, because I think he's the only fella that can give me the right advice and steer me down the right way. I've got the results now. I can sentiment. I can say it works 100%. Follow what Noah says and does. It will work for you guys. It really will do, because it's worked for me 100%. She talks to me every day. Every single day we're talking now, and she doesn't feel afraid to come at me with stuff that she would never ever come to me in the past. And she said, I don't know what's happened to you, but I could have never said this stuff to you 6 months ago.
Would you recommend this program to other men?
100%. Don't even think twice about it. Get on board, get into it, give it your all. If you are deadly serious, you want your wife back, right? I couldn't find anything, and I searched and I looked at other things. I spent money elsewhere. Get on it. Don't waste time on other stuff. This is it. This is the pinnacle of the pyramid in some respects. I couldn't find anything. The moment I got on board with it, I knew it was right. And your way of dealing with it, your whole setup, it's just perfect. Absolutely perfect.
All right. Welcome, everybody. We have another amazing interview. Actually, we were just talking a little bit before the interview. And we have James here, and he is here to spread a message of hope and share his results that he has had over here at the Heroic Husband Turnaround Program. Because we all know, especially me, like people forget, but I was in the same position as a lot of people. It can seem hopeless. It can seem like there is no light at the end of the tunnel, but there is. And I'm here with James just to kind of spread that message and that story. James, what was happening in your marriage before you looked for help?
My wife, of coming up to 30 years this year, had decided that she was unhappy with our relationship, and she felt that there was no moving forward with it. There was no change in things, even though previously we had tried to work things out. And she literally just one day said, "I'm leaving," packed her bags and left. Then, I just spiraled out of control. I just didn't know how to deal with it. I went all emotional. I love you. I care for you. And all this just went, I now know I went completely the wrong way with stuff, completely and utterly the wrong way. But it was the only way I could think of dealing with the situation. And that probably pushed her away now with hindsight, with what I've learned. And then subsequently, with her going over the following weeks, you look around, you fish around on the internet, you look social media, and you get steered down dark, dead end alleyways that are just there to suck your money out or give you false hope, and fill false dreams, and you waste money. And I did, I admit it. I wasted money, I wasted time, and it probably, in the process of that, just pushed her away a little bit further, which made it hard work for me, which was already going to be hard work, but I didn't notice at the time. And it wasn't until I picked up and seen your YouTube videos that you were posting, and I'd watched about a dozen of them in total, and I thought, this guy Noah, he knows his stuff. He knows his shit in some respects, because what you were saying was absolutely bang on the money, 100% bang on the money. And I'm thinking, I've got to tap into this. I've got to find a way to get to this guy, because I think he's the only fella that can give me the right advice and steer me down the right way. And that's when, through your YouTube videos, I reached out. I had a short discussion with a member of your team. I signed up for it, and then I went hell for leather into the whole program. I'll admit it straight up. I did find it really difficult because obviously I'm from the UK. Some of the wording in the US to the UK is very different, and I'm trying to not only grapple with my emotions and my feelings, I'm also trying to learn something new, and your way of talking and the way you producing. And it took me a fair bit of time to get up to speed. And I got to be honest with you, I probably don't know it all now. I'm still learning, but I tried to dive into it, going into the deep end in some respect. But it very quickly became apparent that this was the right route for me to take, and it was. And I think our first one-to-one really hit home hard. You hit me hard. You sucker punched me really good. But that's what I needed. That's what I needed to hear. I needed to hear the truth. I didn't need to hear a load of rubbish. I needed to hear it as it actually is. And you probably were very skeptical in whether I could pull this off or not, because for my wife to walk out, and this wasn't the first time she's walked out, but I'm damn certain this was going to be the last time. This is never happening again. Um, so it's a case of getting into it and believe in the program. I read the book. That's the first thing. Get the book, read it, and then read it again, because you never understood it the first time. I never, you think, wow, just read it again. And I'm still reading it now. I've got it on my phone and I just pick it up. The slightest opportunity, just go through it. Join the program, go right the way through. With the community, use the community. The guys on there are all in the same position. They're all fighting emotions. They're all trying to understand and grapple it. And they all want the same goal. They want their wife back, sat beside them, supporting them, giving them what they require in life. And they want to do the same to their wives. They realize mistakes have been made, and you got to learn from it. And sometimes the toughest mistakes are ones that hit you in the face with a sledgehammer. And that's definitely what happened to me. Participating as much as I could into the group sessions, even though for me they were in the middle of the night, midnight starting. It was hard going for me. I'd be sat there and I'd be falling asleep, and I just couldn't fulfill it all. It was really difficult after a hard day's work. Then all the emotions, you're exhausted, you're tired, and you've got to be up at midnight. But if you don't put the hours in, if you don't put the work in, you're not going to get the results. And I feel I've got the results now. I can sentiment, I can say it works 100%. Follow what Noah says and does. It will work for you guys. It really will do, because it's worked for me 100%.
Yeah. And I love that too, because like a lot of people usually go, "Oh, I don't have time," or "I don't this," or "I don't that." You do. You have time. Like I've been very upfront with like a lot of people. I'm like, okay, let's look at your schedule. Let's find something. And there's always time. And that's the whole point, is to really make sure that you put the dedicated effort. You did it with your work, you did it with all other facets of your life. And this is one of those things where you want to really dive in because it's a compounding effect, right? It's the little things that build up to the micro. And then you guys get to unconscious competence and you guys are like, oh, I don't even have to really think too much about it. I just get it. Or just need a little quick reminder, which is beautiful that you even still use the book. That's why that's there. So I
Yeah.
love it, man. I love it. So then what specifically did you try before working with us?
The old rubbish, the old silent treatment, that doesn't work. That's not the right way to do things. Like that alienates, or it certainly alienated my wife, and it frustrated her, which was not the right thing to do. So that didn't work. I tried the old love bombing as well. Threw presents at her, and she told me, "Don't buy me anything else. I do not want anything. I'll throw it away. You know, that was a clear sign I received from her. So we tried that. I tried some other app-based group scenario. There are plenty out there, and it doesn't give you the interaction, the personal, one-on-one interaction, which is what you and the heroic husband does. It allows you not to be holding hands in every step of the way. It allows you to have a free run, but pulls you back when you need to be pulled back and show you actually that path you're going on isn't the right path. And you've done that. You've done that beautifully for me. For me personally, I can't thank you enough. For sometimes you've spoken to me very frankly, with the Voxer side of things. You've been very frank, very clear, be it brutal, but that's what I needed to hear. That's what I needed to hear. But so coming to yourself was by sheer luck, really. It's a shame that, and it'll probably come with time, that the YouTube channel you've got set up needs to get more followers, more likes, more spreading of the word, for guys out there who really are in this position or in the position I was in, so they can tap into it. They can really tap into it. Um, since then, I'm on the Facebook group as well, participating and giving other members within the community that pat on the back, be it just a like or a little bit of feedback. It makes a big difference to people, a big, big difference. And so, guys watching this, if you're in this, heroic husband, and you are participating in the community, is give other guys a pat on the back. Send them a like, send them a well done. It makes a hell of a difference to receive that, little like, knowing that someone cares. And so what you're doing is being recognized, maybe not by your wife at that particular point, but someone else, maybe on the other side of the world, actually cares what you've written, what you're sharing. And that makes a big, big, big difference inside as a person, as a man that's changing, growing, and evolving, because that's what we're all doing. We are all changing. We are all evolving. We're becoming that heroic husband over time. And you've got to put the time in. You've got to put the effort in. For me, I was up at 6:30 every morning. I put an hour in every single morning. I want to learn. And it wouldn't be a case of I just do whatever module and move on to the next one. I'd do that module again. Do it twice, and I've fulfilled all the modules, and then I've done them all again. It's something you never stop learning with. But when it started to be, shall we say, a way of life for me, that's when it became easy. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to make it a way of life. So the little things, and you know yourself, we spoke about it in the past. What do? I was running out of words when she would come at me. I call it on attack mode. She would come at me. But now I realize actually she needed to offload her emotions, and I needed to absorb those emotions. And initially at the start, I didn't know what to say, what to do. I was all over, I was floundering like a fish on the side of the bank. But now I love it. I absolutely love it. She can come to me and I just absorb it, and I just go, I hear you. I understand. I accept and acknowledge what's gone on in the past. I can't change the past, but I can form a new future for us. And that's what I aim to do. And she talks to me every day. Every single day we're talking now. And she doesn't feel afraid to come at me with stuff that she would never ever come to me in the past. And she said, I don't know what's happened to you, but I could have never said this stuff to you 6 months ago. You'd have just blown up. We'd end up having a row. Now, she says, I say it to you, and it's a pleasure to say it. You just absorb it. And it is a pleasure for me, for her to bring it to me and to clear what's on her mind. I think as a woman in her feminine, that's what they need to do. And that's the other thing. Understanding the feminine, the masculinity, that took me some time to get my head around it. But once you do, wow, does it become really, really, crystal clear what has to be done in order to make this work. Uh, and it's not something I'm finished with. I'm far from finished with it. It's got to continue yet, because every day, um, I'm learning about her and her feminine state. To keep her happy, to keep her joyful. And it's not about buying her love or anything like that. It's about just respecting her and showing her that she is listened to, she is important, and I understand that things have not been right in the past. And that person from the past, yeah, physically is still here, but it's been re-educated, like I've been reset, like a robot been reset in some respect. And that's joyful for me. You can probably tell from my face. I'm quite happy to talk about it. Because it would have been this month. It would have been 5 months ago she'd gone. That's, for me, that's a long time. Realization when your wife walks out of your home that you've built together, that your children are grown up with, to then wake up and no one's there at all. And you come home from a day at work and no one's there. And you do the same old thing. You're looking at your telephone in the hope that something's going to come through, that you'll get a message, you'll get this. That's a horrible feeling to live by. That's not a great feeling. It takes a lot of a man to deal with that properly without spiraling, and that was a big thing for me. Um, and the heroic
Yeah,
husband
and
program. Go on, sorry.
oh, I was just gonna say, and like the thing that like a lot of people might be like, oh well, like oh James was in like a easier situation or a better situation. No, no, you weren't. And I want to really kind of rammer that home because she left, barely
Yep,
gave you an inch, and we
yep,
had to focus on what you can control and then build up your skills. So literally, when you had that opportunity, it's never if, it's when you you literally strike the iron while the iron's hot and you executed. I remember flawlessly. There were some tweaks. We still always have to do some tweaks. Like you
yep,
said, it's a lifestyle, right?
yep.
It's a growing lifestyle. But like for people here, they don't know those like nitty gritties. And I'm literally telling you, like, this isn't something that it's just like, oh, oh, he had an easier situation. She was more open. No.
No
When people
chance.
get to a point, yeah, when people get to a point with their mind being made up, well, it changed, right? Now, when men usually spiral, and we'll talk about some of the achievements that you've accomplished, but when men typically spiral, it's because they think it's forever done, it's forever changed, and then you go into despair. Well, that's not true because she changed her mind once before about you, right? Well, now it's finding out and understanding what were the patterns, what were the things that got us there. And that's what we call as identity conflict trap and the bleeding points around that. So, if you could just share with everybody, what are the results that you've achieved since joining the Heroic Husband Turnaround Program?
Well, you just said something really, really that hit home for me, and this is what I used, the bleeding points. It took me some time to realize what the bleeding points were, and they were just really trivial. Some of the stuff. I mean, I was 2 years ago. I started to build some stainless steel and glass banisters coming up the stairs, and our house is on sort of 3 levels. And I thought, instead of paying someone to do it, I'm more than capable of doing this. I've got the equipment. I'll make it myself. Well, 2 years later, it still wasn't done. And that was a bleeding point for her. That must have been needling her really badly, even though she didn't say anything about it. Uh, We've got other jobs around the home that needed doing. There was painting. Carpeting needed to be done. There was doors that were rubbing on the front, and these are all bleeding points for her that were really upsetting her, and she didn't want to bring them up because she was afraid of how I would react to them, the explosive reactions that would take place, because my mindset was not in the right place. I was not a calm sea. I was a very rough sea. And that's something that sticks in my mind. Is how can you approach somebody when someone's really, unapproachable. And for her perspective, I had to put my mind of where she was. How would I feel if I was in her shoes trying to approach me, and just bringing up words that I'd be in attack mode, I'd be defensive. All that had to stop. So dealing with the bleeding points was a fundamental groundwork with it. But understanding the bleeding points, that took some time. Understanding what bleeding points are. Again, we're looking at things. I was initially thinking bleeding points. What have I done? What is there something that I'm missing here? Then I realized that actually her bleeding points were what my infidelity was, and what we hadn't discussed because she couldn't bring to the table and talk to me because my explosive way of dealing things, um, and understanding why I was explosive, because I had sort of trauma in some respects from my past that I hadn't dealt with. So when she came to me with her concerns or her bleeding points, and I would explode, that just escalated things, and she shut down. It didn't do me any good. It didn't do her any good. So that went on for a number of years. Um, that was one thing that took a lot of understanding to get to that point where I could understand that she was carrying the resentment, the fear, the anger, the mistrust. She couldn't trust me. That was one of her big things. That I no longer trusted you. And her words, exactly as you said, were, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. They struck a chord with me right from the off. And I didn't understand those words. I didn't understand them, what they meant. It's like, if you're not in love with me, how can you be in love with me? I couldn't get my head around that one. Now I understand why. She loved me as a person when I am really good, but she was no longer in love with me because the outward person was just wrong. It wasn't the person she fell in love with. Now, she's buoyant, she's joyful, she's playful, completely a different person altogether, approachable in such a way. And we had the aspect of it when I was pushing the boundaries, and I would push the boundaries with her. With when we would get to the point where we're getting a little bit closer, and I'd kiss her on the head, and she would tell me, "Do not do that. We're just friends. We're not in a relationship. I'm going for divorce." And I used to go to the mailbox every day thinking, please, Lord, don't have the divorce papers in there. It was, my heart would go to that mailbox and go boom, 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 thinking, please, please, no divorce papers. Thankfully, they didn't come, but it did get very, very close indeed, because we had an old divorce sat on a courtroom database. She couldn't introduce a new divorce without me either signing that one off or her taking me to court to have that one removed. Um, and I think that did help the situation, because when she realized that, I was already changing. So when she did approach me about it, I just accepted that there was there and said to her, let's just put that on the side for a little bit. Let's just breathe. Please come with me on this journey. Look at me, to what I'm doing. I'm not going to show you or tell you what I'm doing. I want you to look at it. And when you're ready, we can discuss it. And that certainly helped from my perspective. Just calming things down. And as you say, is when I got into a situation whereby I couldn't get the words out. And I remember this specifically. We'd be having a talk after work, um, and I would really struggle. She would come on this defensive attack mode, and I would really struggle with words. But I'd just take a deep breath, just slow down, open my body language up, and that would calm the situation enough for me to just pick out some words, um, and just bring some ease to the situation. And certainly, the words acknowledgement is a big one. I used it a lot. I probably overused it. Um, and that. just simple little things like that can be and I remember having a conversation with you. It's like, no, I need some more words. I'm running out of words here. I do need some more words. But we just regrouped. Everything fell into place. But the bleeding points, massive. Understanding your wife's partner's bleeding points can make a big difference. Once you, as the husband, understand those, then you can deal with them. Now I'm struggling to find things to do because I've done them all the little bleeding points that were physical bleeding points in retrospect of stuff that I could go into the house and repair and do and so forth and so on. Um, I've done them all, which is really, really good for me because I haven't got a whole host of stuff that's hanging over me. So I feel better for it, in all fairness, and she feels better because they're all done. So it's a win-win situation for both of us. Um, but yeah, it has been a bit of an eye opener. But as I say, it's not over yet. It's we've still got work to do, continuation of that work. But it is becoming easier and more enjoyable as a person. I'm enjoying myself greater than I ever done before. And we've said before she had left before, and she come back, and she said it herself it was different then. She felt differently. I hadn't destroyed that love as I had done in this instance, so it was easier for her to come back. Now, this instant, I've had to work doubly hard. I've had to double down on everything and teach myself everything that the program does, pull it from. And it's not to say that she's back in the house, everything's back as it was. No, that marriage is finished. That's done. We're building a new relationship now. And it's better, it's cleaner, it's fresher, it's more open. Um, and I just feel so good about it. We're talking about things that we would have never talked about before. And it seems very easy to talk about them, unpressurized, and enjoyable in some respects.
Yeah. I love it. I love it, man. And that's the whole point, right? People want to reset and go back. You don't want to go back. And plus your marriage is not a computer. You could just turn on and turn off and reset. You have to, it's like a muscle. It literally is. You have to build moving forward. And all of those bad or bleeding points, those actually unite you. And you guys can grow from it. And then now it's just a lifestyle. Now there's always going to be ups down. I'm very upfront with you guys. It's never like, all right, we're cool, like we hit the mountaintop peak, this is it. No, there's going to be peaks valleys, but the whole point is you as the husband need to lead the general trend, always moving forward. That's
Yes.
growth. That's humans. I love
Yeah.
that, man. Now we'll kind of wrap up with a couple of questions because you hit a lot of stuff that I usually ask people, and I love the way that you just talk about everything. It's very captivating. I love it, man. So if you had to boil it down, so people could get some value, and then we'll wrap up with some final questions. What are the top 3 things that you learned that ultimately changed your marriage?
Oh, top 3 things. Um, Learn to listen to your heart in respect to breathing. Breathe. Just nice, like you say. Just if you are in a situation like floundering like a fish, like because you just got no way for. Breathe. Take a little bit of time. There is no rush for it, and that's one thing. I was bang, bang, bang. I want it all now. I want to just breathe, man. Just relax. You'll be surprised what a little bit of calm, quietness will bring. Especially if you're doing it in front of your wife. Open your body language up a little bit. You sit comfortably, not arms crossed, legs crossed. So just open up. It makes a world of difference. So we've got that. Understanding the bleeding points and how to deal with those bleeding points. That can take some time. Everybody's different. Everybody's got their own things going on. But try as a husband, try and understand where your wife's bleeding points are. And you can't fulfill them and fix them all at the same time. It's impossible. You've just got to do one day on day if you can. And I tried the old 1% scenario. So I tried to make a positive change of 1% every day on myself, so it would be noticeable for her. Now, I didn't have to scream and shout, look at me, look at me. I just did it because, as you say, she's watching. She sees everything, everything in this world, from the clothes you're wearing to how you do your hair to how you look. I did certain things. One this is a big thing for me is I'd never been to a gym in my life. I went to a gym. I've never set foot in a gym before in my life, even though my career with sports and so, I've never been in one. I went to the gym. I lost, you know, uh, 15 kilos in weight, which is an awful lot of weight. Um, so I was doing that. She was watching. She knew exactly because she sent me a message one night. She's send me a picture. I'd be interested to see how your gym work's doing. It's like, I never told you I was going to the gym. She knew about it. She knew my food. She would come back to the house and look into the fridge, and she knew the food was changing. I was eating a lot of protein food, none of this junk food and so forth. And guys out there, honestly, do not look at porn. Stay away from it. It is no good for
Mhm.
you. It is, it's the devil in disguise. Do not go near it, because if you do, she will see, and that will set you back. That will set you back. That's something I've learned. It's not through what I've done. It's discussions we've had afterwards in the last week or so. She said, if I'd have seen you looking at porn at any stage, you wouldn't be having these conversations now. That would have pushed me back. She said, I'm grateful for that. I really am grateful. So guys, even if you're tempted, just stay away from it. It's it's the devil in disguise. It really is. It's going to do you no good whatsoever. Shut it out from your life. Think of the positive thing. Read the heroic book again. There's lots of other books out there that you can read, you can pick up, you can learn, digest, do something else to change your mind direction. That's one big thing I have learned. Be in control of your own mind. Don't let your mind be in control of you. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned is be in control of your mind. And don't let your mind be in control of me, because it will send you all over the place, especially if we're high achievers. And certainly my mind was everywhere. I'm buying and selling and up and down. And it's just calm it all down. Just relax and take control of it. You can come back to it later if you need to. Concentrate what you need to concentrate on, and that's your wife and her feminine and looking after it so she can lean into you in your masculinity and enjoy what you have. And that was a big thing. That was a massive, massive thing. And it just grew from there. It became something that we would have small interactional conversations passing. And bear in mind, my world is very different to a lot of other guys out there. She'd moved out the house. She was not talking to me, but I was working with her still. That was just chewing my head up. So I would see her 2 days a week in work, and I'd have to interact with her in a work environment, but she would not entertain any conversation regarding personal stuff. She just shut me down straight away. Do not bring that to work. I do not want to talk about it. And then she'd be up and gone, out of work, not wanting to talk. And I'd be, even to the point where I did something very stupid. As you well know now, I took her phone one day, um, and I should have never done that. But that was in early time. That's back before Christmas time, before we'd had sort of some communication, and I was desperate. I couldn't get her to even talk to me. She just told me to get away, back right away from me, leave me alone. And I took her phone, and that was probably the worst thing I could have possibly have done at that point. We look back on it now and we've discussed it, and I explained to her that I was acting under desperation because I wanted to talk to her, but that was for my feelings, not for hers. And that's the other thing, is understanding that actually we're doing this for our wife's feelings. We're doing it to make them feel better. It's not about us in total. We work on ourselves to make us the better person, to make us the solid, calm, heroic husband. But we also have to work for our wives and try to understand their way of thoughts and feelings and emotions, because they are very emotional creatures. Very, very emotional creatures. And I talk to my friends now. I'm like an advice bureau sometimes with some of them. I talk like, I went to a colleague's house the other day, and they were having some words, and I said, Jeff, don't talk to your wife like that. Just ask her a slightly different way. You might get a better response. And he said, okay, I'll give it a try. And he spoke to it a different way, and she come back a different response, and it was so much nicer. And I just watched it unfold. And I wish I'd had something like that, before I found you guys. He's, like I said before, I can't thank you enough. Monetary wise, it's probably the best money I've spent in a long, long time. A long, long time. It's definitely worked for me, 100%.
Love it. I love it. Now, we'll just wrap up with a couple of questions and then we'll close out. So, what do you think about Noah's feedback style and action steps that he gives me?
Brutal, absolutely brutal for me. Um, Perfect though. That's what you need. You need that honest brutality at times. It's no point in pussyfooting around it. We're not here to have a little tango. We're here to do the job. We want our wives back. So if that's what it takes to get the mindset, that's what's got to happen. And Noah's right on the money with it. You were brutal to me at sides. Like I'd get off of a Voxer, and I just go, really? Has he just spoken to me like that? And it's just it was, but I needed it. I really did need it. Because I felt I've gone back through some of the Voxers now over the last week, and it's like, did I really ask him that? You know, some of this is just kiddie play, really and truthfully. Now I'm aware. At the time, it was extremely important, and your way of reacting to me was perfect. That's what I needed. I needed. It's like a father talking to a son. That's what it was like, because I don't have that relationship with my father. He lives on the other side of the world. I barely speak to him, and I'm in this situation, and I'm not proportioning blame, but I'm in this situation because of how he treated me in the past, and how I looked at him for help, guidance, understanding, and that help, guidance, understanding was incorrect. Probably because he was brought up in a different era than where we are now. The world has changed massively. So I don't resent him. I don't blame him. It's just I probably didn't evolve in the way I should have evolved. I was probably getting sucked back to that time. But without a shadow of a doubt, the way you spoke to me, and the brutalness of it was perfect. That's what I needed. It certainly give me the inner strength to push even further.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I learned that, and I'll give the credit to the militaries because like I've had really good mentors in my life to where, we'll be compassionate and we'll tell you, but when something's not hitting and you can see and I can tell, and that's why I'm really big on your guys' speech patterns and Voxer and how like, you guys getting on the calls and we'll shoot the shit on the calls and
Mm.
we'll mess around a little bit, but when it's work, when it's task mode, it's task mode. We have a job and we have a mission to do. So I love it, man. I love it. And yeah, that's the way to get in there, to get into the conscious mind and slip into the subconscious. So I love it.
Yep.
Now
Yep.
we'll just wrap up with the last couple of questions. Would you recommend this program to other men?
100%. Don't even think twice about it. Get on board, get into it, give it your all. If you are deadly serious, you want your wife back, right? I couldn't find anything, and I searched and I looked at other things. I spent money elsewhere. Get on it. Don't waste time on other stuff. This is it. This is the pinnacle of the pyramid in some respects. I couldn't find anything. The moment I got on board with it, I knew it was right. And your way of dealing with it, your whole setup, it's just perfect, absolutely perfect.
I love it. And then why would you tell the men specifically to join?
Because I think unless you get education, I don't think you're going to get to the point, unless it's by sheer luck. If you've got, like my wife, she walked away, she walked out, she didn't want to talk to me, she didn't want to interact with me unless it was business related, or family related. And she even told me this, how on earth are you going to find this out? You could spend the rest of your life trying to negotiate stuff on the internet. You can search on search engines, you can look in YouTube and so forth and so on. There's so much stuff out there, and a lot of it is rubbish. It's just total rubbish, whereby the moment I stumbled across, and it was a stumbling block, I stumbled across you, on YouTube. I realized that actually this guy knows his shit. He's talking the language that I need, and that was it. It was a turning point when I spoke to your team member. I specifically remember on evening time, I've sat there in the kitchen, spoke to your team member about the situation. She said, "Yeah, you're going to need Noah's one-on-one and so forth." And it's like, ooh, do I? Is this salvageable? And she said, "Yeah, if you put the work in, it's salvageable. You can pull this back." And that's what. If you needed to put a sign up of any sort, like, use me as a sign. Yes, I am a success of the program without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm not finished yet. The program's still running in me, and it will always run with me for the rest of my life. But most definitely, it works 100%. I wouldn't waste time and effort looking at other stuff. There are
I
other
love it.
good things out there, but fundamentally, this one ticks all the boxes.
I love it, man. I love it. And that's just because I've been there too. I think everybody forgets. Like, honestly, if I would have given up, my two sons would not be born today.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
genuinely and honestly. And then we even have members right now that have finally, like we were just talking about before, that we're just seeing a wave of wins, of wins, of wins. And one of the members, he's trying for his third child with his wife, and that would never have happened if he gave up too. So with that being said, James, I'll just give you a little platform. Is there anything, because we're pretty much done, but is there anything that you just want to tell the audience, you just want to tell men, that you just kind of want to like spread with message of hope or anything like that? Is there anything that you want to tell them?
There is hope out there, but the hope has to lie with you as the man, as the masculine. All right, you can't mess around with this. You can't dip your toe in and go, "I'm not going to do that anymore." You have to be committed to it, and if you're committed to it, your wife will see it over time. Don't expect it to work in 2 weeks. It's not going to work, because you've really, really, for your wife to take her bags and move out of your family home, be it taking the children, if you've got children or not. If, like my situation, my children are much older, there was no children involved. For her to pick the bags up and to take her makeup and to take her personal belongings and medication and move out of the home was a big thing for her. She did not do that lightly. And that takes a great deal of respect from my part. I respect her for doing that, even though it hurt me so much. That hurt will never ever disappear from my feelings. Not as a resentment, as a reminder that actually this program and what I've learnt through this program will never allow me to return to those feelings.
I love it, man. Awesome. Okay, James. Well, thank you for that. We'll close out and bye, everybody.
Yes.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
James. Cool.